Are you ready, Bob Harvey?
I'm ready.
Bob Harvey is ready. I think we should have like a NASA countdown for the Landscape and Garden Show.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. We're going all the way. 3, 4, 3, 2, 2. Bob's a dancer at heart. 1, lift off on the Landscape and Garden Show with Bob and BT
On the Alive and Social Network. Sound effects, away we roll. We're going now.
Lift off is good. I'm correcting for course. Outer space, here we come.
Given the narrative already on the program, you might assume that BT here is already in outer space, but no, we're fully grounded, and the Landscape and Garden Show is underway. You're kind of smirking a little bit here, aren't you? Bob's wondering, what just happened? How did this show get?
I'm trying to come back down to earth.
What just happened? Well, whenever there's the talk of grilling and barbecuing in the air, I get a little bit excited. And we got two great guests here on the show, and we'll say hi to them right now. It's Kurt Dawson from Dawson Manufacturing, and also Matt Demore, thank you. I thought of the, did I get it right, though? Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah. Well, say it for me then.
Well, it's Demore.
Demore. But you told me earlier, I'm not calling you out here, but you said it's like Des Moines and Grand Marais, and so I thought, duh, it's not Des Moines.
Well, they're both two-letter names, right?
Oh,
so you take
okay,
the first
I
letter
got you.
from the first
I know,
one
but I
and
was
second
pronouncing it the way like Des Moines would be, and so again, are we going to fight now? Is there going to be a wrestling match in here?
Look like you could take me.
Just don't step on the flowers, all right?
Yeah, okay, very good. Wouldn't be the first fight in the room, though. I'm just saying there. Good to have you guys here. I really appreciate you being on the show. I know Bob does too, because Memphis grills are just one of the coolest darn products out there for the outdoor living world, and you've got a great product, and welcome to the show.
Thanks
for having us.
Good to have you both here. Bob, I'm going to ask you this, my friend. Do you want to dive into some of the usual show stuff that we do first? And then these guys, I want you guys to know, these are conversational environments here in the Alive and Social Network studio. So as we get into, what's blooming and some of the things that we like to cover every week on the show, are you guys gardeners too? I mean, do you get out there and, Matt, you go first.
No, as a apartment dweller, I don't do just a whole ton of gardening.
Any house plants or anything like that? Or
I grew herbs last year. I grew some spices and herbs.
Nice. So some kitchen stuff.
That kind of ties in with the grill, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you use herbs with your grilling.
I would say that at least at one point I used some of the herbs that I had grown.
That's nice.
On some of the stuff that I grilled. So
that's really cool. Yeah, and how about you, Kurt? I mean, you do the outdoor thing. I mean, I imagine the Memphis Grill at the Dawson House has to have a pretty good setting. A pretty prominent setting out there.
You would think. I'm more of a waterer and a mower. That's about it.
He's a maintenance man.
Yeah,
that'll work though.
I got a job for you?
You always need staff when you own a landscaping company.
And I want to mention that. I definitely want that mentioned
you could
on
use
the
some staff?
Please, we're expanding so well, and
that's awesome.
An unbelievable amount of opportunities have been coming our way, and we're looking for more additional expertise that's collaborative, experienced,
that's nice,
sophisticated, and excited in the design build industry. Absolutely.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people on all levels. I mean, whether it's, general workers, whether it's actual design people.
That have a passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have to plug them in. They're already plugged in and ready to go, and they're excited about participating in the fulfillment of a transformation of a landscape.
Well, and that's what it's all about.
Because the process is just as important as the product.
As the product. I mean, it really is. I mean, you bring up the transformation of a landscape because it's the fulfillment of people's dreams is what we always talk about, on the show. I mean, that's what it is. That's what landscaping does for a person's, living space and environment. It transforms them, the space that is for them, into someplace that's something that they've, imagined about.
We've seen it time and time again, and you just build on one great experience after another.
Yeah, very cool stuff. So again, across the board, I mean, kind of, you just want to staff up. You need to staff up. That's great.
Horticulturalists, horticultural designers, landscape architects, people that are experienced in construction industry of equipment operation and managing some projects, and view their contribution as a vital contribution to the whole.
So reach out to you guys, info@edelweissdesign.com.
We'll talk to you.
EDELWEISS. There's your Edelweiss, the storied Austrian plant, the Alpine plant, and then design, no plural, DESIGN.com.
One of the really, really exciting things that's happened over the last couple of years, I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, is a lot of the folks that contribute to the development and preservation of the gardens and landscapes that we maintain are folks that have already pretty much run a primary professional experience. They're semi-retired or retired.
Yeah. You did bring that up, and those are cool staffers,
they're there
too.
Because they want to be there. They could bring a boatload of experiences from all their different occupations, from lawyers to financial analysts to financial planners, human resource people, teachers. And it's amazing when they all get together how the connections just start to unfold, and it makes for a very positive, stimulating environment. And I'm just so totally enjoying it. It's amazing.
I got to think there's two loves that probably are fueling that fire, whether, like you said, the cross-section of jobs and backgrounds these folks come from. One is, plants and being outdoors and being in nature and just being around that kind of stuff. And secondly, it's artistic. I mean, we're not talking about just, slopping a plant in the ground. We're talking about planting it, doing it artistically, making brush strokes happen on the landscape. And that's as though it were a canvas. And so you've got those two things as starters from these folks that are, wanting to be a part of that. Am I correct there, sir?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a woman who's a retired financial analyst, worked for a major corporation here in the Twin Cities, and is getting certified as a trainer. And she's probably about 56, 57 years old. And she's doing a triathlon, training for a triathlon. And she worked about
cool individual.
11 hours yesterday in the gardens and didn't stop. My client just said, I've never seen a person work so hard.
Wow, that's cool.
So that's exciting. It's a fulfilling thing. When you the thing again about this kind of work is that you see it's a kind of instant gratification. You get to see transformation almost immediately.
Yeah.
What you do has a direct impact on the results, and you can see it. It's very visible. It's a visual thing.
It's reminding me of when we did our landscape job on the backyard at the Turner household in 2002. That the crew we had there, a crew of like 7, 3 of them were, employees and people that were really digging in. And then the other 4 were, like people like you're mentioning here. I mean, I remember Bob was and remains in the education world. Skip is a musician. I think he still is.
Yes, we've had those two professional musicians.
That kind of thing. And so Bob had the summers off. So he's he does landscaping in the summer. And that was just fun to see that. And you're right, the kind of conversations that come out of all these different backgrounds. Not everybody being a rockhead, as we like to call them. Putting the rocks in the landscape and what have you, or a horticulturist or whatever, or landscaper specifically, but they bring all that great stuff to the fore. Lunch hours were interesting because the conversation really pinged around. Yeah, it really went in a lot of different directions. That was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, the process again is as good of an experience as the final product.
All right, info@edelweissdesign.com. Get on it. Get yourself a nice
Talk
gig with a nice group of people because the folks at Edelweiss are great.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't even have to have an accent to work there either.
I'm trying to figure out which one you just did.
I don't know. I kind of transformed through a couple of them.
You did well. I'm gonna. I hope I'll forgive you for that as much as hopefully you've already forgiven me for the weird start to the show, and we almost had a wrestling match.
I know. I was like, are we on? Are we
with Dave
off?
Murray and I'm calling him out on the pronunciation of his name, and it's like, hey man, you told me this, and what the heck? And he's looking at me like, hey, fists are here we go. We're going down here.
Shaking that fist.
So no, it's a good vibe in the room, and Memphis Grill's in the spotlight as we get along here. Good to have you, Matt, and good to have you, Kurt. Good stuff.
I'm so glad they can be here with us. We've been trying to get a schedule together that would work because their contribution with their product that they're going to talk about today, the Memphis Grill, has really been a great enhancement and an asset to our designs and projects. And our client satisfaction rate is very, very high.
Is that cool?
And I think we'll talk about some of the things as far as construction, mechanics, operation, that kind of thing, that makes it so easy to own one of these grills. There's a lot of options out there for grilling. We'll talk about different options, but this is the one I particularly become familiar with because I own one.
Yeah.
And
I think when you say it makes it so easy to own, you're by a subtextual way. You're saying it's easy to operate too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the food is the final decision. It just tastes awesome, and you have complete control over the outcome of the food.
I don't know if you know, but if I'm calling your house to see to talk about the show or something, and your lovely wife Jackie answers the phone, I just say, "Is Vittles there?" and she says, and then she then she goes, "Bah!" But we have our own little code. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just pulling the curtain back a little bit on our relationship for our landscape and garden show listeners.
Yeah, these grills really make for a great outdoor experience, and we do a lot in designs with outdoor kitchens and spaces that they don't have to be big and fancy and extravagant. We have those. We do those. We have, across the board designs. We're meeting some of the most basic needs, like where is the safest and the most accessible place to put it, and why.
Well, you saying that, I have a question for Kurt right out of the chute. Mm-hmm. As you started getting the company together and putting together this unique design, and we'll get into some of those facets of what makes a Memphis Grill. But were you motivated in some measure by the fact that so many more people were putting in outdoor living spaces and outdoor kitchens and places that there was far more level of enjoyment in the outdoors and staying out there and sort of clustering around that grill and having that be a part of the experience? Was that sort of in your head when you started this thing?
Yeah, when we started,
go ahead and get a little close to the mic.
When we started manufacturing the grill, definitely outdoor living was definitely on the increase.
Sort of on the upswing then, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and people, rather than going out to eat. Remember, there was a time when there was a bit of a crunch, and for the economy, and people were cooking at home, and able to have great results on the wood-fired grill. So,
now, given that said, when did you start the whole thing up? Then, I mean, was it pre-crash?
08 was inception, I think.
08,
right?
08. So right around,
is when they actually started.
Around crash time. I mean, really, the bubble bursting time. Then, sure.
Yeah, we're a contract manufacturer in Bloomington, and we're. There's a bit of a downturn in the economy. We're looking for a product to produce on our own.
And have that be under your own imprint. Oh, that's very cool. I didn't know that part of your narrative.
Yeah. So there's
super
a lot
cool.
of all the sheet metal we produce in-house and make it right in Bloomington there.
Yeah,
a real Minnesota-based company.
Yeah, and an innovative company, one that, could have foundered, in the moment of the crash or at least the downturn. But you said there's a way to innovate and turn something out and then have it be our own. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of contract work were you doing, and are you still doing? I mean, or is it all Memphis Grills now? I mean, is it?
No, we're still doing contract manufacturing for other customers, for other OEM products that go into other OEM, final products.
Yeah.
But the grills they represent 10% of our business, I think, at this point.
Yeah, Dawson Industries, as the parent company, does. Oh, I should get a little closer.
Yeah, thanks, man.
They service a wide variety of customers, but the grills, especially recently, have been rising up the ranks.
I would think so. Yeah,
and so I think it's to the point where they're one of the biggest actual customers of Dawson Industries. So
I gotcha.
Make a substantial chunk of the business. The business itself has been around. We actually just celebrated
45.
Since 1945.
Yeah,
it's,
70 years.
An old school company.
But and you're a Dawson.
Yeah.
I mean, was it your grandfather that started
grandfather
it then?
and
Isn't
grandmother?
That yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And was it a sheet metal business from the get-go or that sort of thing?
Yeah,
or?
architectural sheet metal, making gutters and downspouts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Neat.
Yeah. My dad and his two brothers
going back to the 60s
and,
then, I'm guessing, or
yeah, they took it and grew it into more of a manufacturing company, as opposed to going out and measuring homes and putting the designing the
bits and pieces. Yeah, right, right. Because that's a onesie, twosie sort of business at that point. With like you said, specific measurements and this and that, and the margins are tighter and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And they started doing more of the contract manufacturing for other OEMs.
Okay, yeah. And maybe some other grill people, too? I mean, that sort of thing? Or are you guys in the grill world when it comes to fabricating on your own? I mean, is that...
No, not really grills,
okay,
per se. More, I'd say, like the RV industry.
Yeah,
sure.
The array of customers that we have is actually it's almost bizarre how many different applications, everything from buses to, computer mounts, and I don't know. There's a lot of different stuff. Solar energy production.
And it's the kind of stuff then where you're given a template or a design, and then you're expected to turn out 800 of them.
That's right.
Or 8,000 of them, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then bam, when we do quality work and everything's, down to the nut, and boom, we ship them off, and then you make some money. That's how it works. Yeah, very cool.
And I think the grills in 2008, Memphis Grills was kind of a way for the company to take their expertise in all this metal manufacturing and finally make something that was their own.
Yeah.
We've done really well with like back end design and carrying things through manufacturing, but we never had, at least on the same scale, a product that was our own, that we could really say that we created.
Right, yeah, like you mentioned, Kurt, at the beginning here, that this was something that you wanted to have that was your thing. That's really neat.
We take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's a great product. Matt DeMarais, how long have you been with the company then?
So I started in 2010.
Okay.
Early 2010.
So just like shortly after the whole Memphis thing sort of arrived on the scene.
Yep. So 2009 was mainly, I think, kind of design phase. I think we started selling towards the end of 2009.
Yeah, a few models.
And things got going right away. It didn't take off quite as slowly as I would have expected. Because by the time
you kind of expect that with a new product. It's like, well, is it going to work, or are they people going to respond to it?
Yep.
But I do remember that time frame. Going to the home and garden shows, and Bob, you could certainly attest to this.
We were in those home and
you
garden
were in
shows.
them. I mean, it really was cool to watch that. People were responding immediately. I remember that. Just firmly in my head. Because everything about it, and just the design was nice, and you could tell the quality of the manufacturing was top notch. And so kind of a surprise for you, like you said, that they responded faster. And it's like, we have to ramp up production way quicker than we thought.
And especially for me, I think me, like a lot of other people, I didn't. Frankly, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that wood pellet grilling was a thing until I started with a company. They said, we do grills, and I said, like charcoal. I'm like, well, no, gas, no. Wood pellet grill. I'm like, not familiar, but obviously I got familiar in a hurry, and it's really something. It's a totally different way of approaching the grill, and it's wonderful.
So I'm going to go to Bob Harvey, not landscape designer. I'm going to go to Bob Harvey, Memphis Grill aficionado and user. Tell me about your experiences with the Memphis Grill. What do you like the most about it? I mean, what are the things that, and there's probably a list of things that you like the most about it, but what's at the top of your list, do you think?
Well, just the way that it cooks the food and the options that you have, because it's temperature controlled, so it's like a convection kind of oven.
Convection.
Yeah.
And
but it's still grilling, even in that convection
You get the
setting.
grilling flavor. And the flavor is great because it comes from the wood pellets. The wood pellets can be seasoned with different flavors like mesquite or cherry
apple
or
smoke or whatever.
Those kinds of things. And it just gives you multiple options when you're looking to prepare food and you want to be efficient with your time when you don't have a lot of time.
Sure.
You can grill, you can smoke, you can, bake on it. It's just amazing.
Yeah, neat.
And you can forget sometimes what you're doing, and the meat doesn't really get over. I mean, if you leave it on a little too long, it still tastes great. I don't have dried chicken when I grill my chicken.
Just a little extra smoke.
Just a
right.
little
There you
extra.
go.
Yeah, and it's user friendly. The maintenance is minimal with it, but it's clean. It's clean maintenance.
Because you can do things like this, I believe, with it. And I'm speculating because I've only seen these things demoed. I haven't used one. I haven't actually, and I'm dying to use one. But I'm guessing, so Bob, you can take that chicken or whatever you're cooking, you can crank up that Memphis Grill to about a 350, 400.
Exactly.
Get the nice score marks on it, do all that. And then not without having to move it, away from the heat, so to speak, you're going to turn that heat down to like a nice 225 now. And then it's going to regulate that heat at 225, and as long as you want it to. Yeah. Oh, super cool. Super
the other
cool.
thing that was it's very user friendly. Particularly, you appreciate this is in the winter. If you like to grill year round,
yeah, I can see it already.
It's because it is a convection oven. It has insulation. I mean, it has some barrier to temperature outside of it, so you can. It heats up very quickly, even in the colder temperatures.
It holds on to the heat,
and you can go out there, turn it on. It heats up. Then you go and put your food on and take it off, and it will calibrate the exact temperature you want, regardless of the temperature outside.
Yeah. We grill quite a bit more in the winter than we did. We wouldn't have dreamed of grilling in the winter, but now we are. You just go out, you hit the start button, set your temperature, and it's a double wall construction. So we brag the fact that even at -10, you can still go out and grill a steak or cook a chicken.
Yeah, and not have to be out there constantly monitoring it the whole time.
Exactly.
That sort of
it's
thing.
It's going to stay hot. As long as you keep fueling it, it's going to stay hot.
Do you have a little Memphis grill out there on the deck at the apartment?
Actually, I've got friends that live basically next door, and so mine resides with them.
With them, it's in the hood.
Yep, exactly. That's great. And it's good because it gets a lot more use that way too. A few people live in there.
So explain, Kurt, on a design level. So how does that work? And I know there's wood pellets. There's obviously a reservoir for the wood pellets.
Yeah.
So you literally pour those rascals into the reservoir, you fill it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then is there some kind of auger system that disperses the pellets in there according to the temperature that you choose, and it's going to send more in or less or that sort of thing?
Yeah. You fill the hopper with wood pellets, and then you'll hit your start button on the you plug in the grill. This grill requires electricity.
Okay.
You'll hit the start button, adjust the temperature that you want the grill to achieve.
Does electricity get the pellets going?
The auger, there's an auger in the bottom of that hopper that will turn and fill the burn pot with pellets.
Okay.
And then there's an electric igniter.
There you go. That's what I was getting at.
That heats up, and when air passes over that, it superheats the air.
Gotcha.
And it's that superheated air is what actually causes the pellets to
combust.
So it's like a superheated hair dryer.
Exactly. It's not a flame. It's not a spark. It's not an electrical arc. It's actually just hot air that ends up
with an element in there that heats up and it pushes that 1200 degree air or whatever the temp is. But it pushes it over the pellets. As soon as it detects then that I'm lit now, then it turns off.
Yep.
It says I don't have to do this anymore.
Exactly. The igniter's on just during the ignition cycle.
Yeah. And it does it automatically, I'm guessing. It turns off automatically. Yeah.
Yep.
Super cool.
It reads its temperature and says, "Yep, I'm up to temp."
Nice. This is very Star Trek-like. I'm digging this.
Sci-fi grilling, futuristic grilling.
Yeah. Super cool. Super cool.
One of the things I think our listeners would probably be curious about that have different types of grilling arrangements at home is how this serves the needs of all those different arrangements. So let's say like you have an egg or you have a gas grill or a charcoal grill. So we should talk a little bit about how those other types of grilling compare to what we do with the Memphis grill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Sure. I mean, we can start with the egg because I was mentioning to Matt before we got the show started that I love the Memphis grill. And and I mentioned to you, it's like, I want one of those Memphis grills, But my wife was working at a kitchen store in the area here, and they had one of those promotions where the Big Green Egg guys were there, and they offered it up, that every employee could buy one at cost. So it's like, because I've always liked the egg too, I like them both, but I really like the Memphis. But how could I pass that up? What the heck? What's a guy to do? It was at cost for crying out loud. And so I enjoy the egg, it's a good unit. But, the temperature regulation, I have to do that. Mm-hmm. There's a louver on the bottom that lets air in on the bottom. Mm-hmm. There's a vent on the bottom. And then there's the venting on the top. Mm-hmm. And then I have to keep an eye on the temp and all that kind of stuff. And, and that's okay because I like to be an engaged griller. But hearing you guys talk about winter grilling and being able to step away more so that's pretty neat.
Yeah. You can adjust the temperature anywhere from 180 degrees up to 650, or even one of our models goes up to 700 degrees.
Yep.
The nice thing is it has a temperature probe within the grill, so it regulates the fuel feed to really maintain an accurate precise temperature.
So you can stick that rascal inside that big pork butt that you're doing.
No, well, there's a temperature probe inside the cavity.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and that regulates the fuel feed so that you get real consistent temperatures.
Yeah.
So that you can have real predictable results with what you're cooking.
Yeah.
You can have a real controlled cook. And the other thing is, if you're doing like a pork shoulder and you're cooking for, say, 8 to 12 hours, you can do that overnight. You can be sleeping while the grill's doing the work and regulating that. You don't have to go out and maintain it and make adjustments to it.
Yeah.
But what you had touched on earlier actually is the case. We do have a removable probe that can be that you stick into the front of the interface, route it into the grill, you plug it into whatever meat you've got. You tell the grill controller, all right, I want this meat to cook until it hits, say, 160 degrees.
Or 145 or whatever.
Exactly.
I want it rare.
Whether you're cooking a turkey or a pork roast or, prime rib roast.
You're going $1.75 on the turkey. You're going to go $1.35 on the lamb shoulder.
Exactly.
That sort of thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you tell the controller you want it to go up to that temperature. And then once that grill controller reads that it has reached that temperature, it will automatically lower the set temp of the cooking chamber down to its lowest setting, a smoke setting. So it'll just keep the food warm until you're ready to take it off.
And kind of keep it a little smoky.
Yeah, keep it good and smoky.
Keep it a little smoky. Smoke on there. Yeah, a little smoky going on there.
We're not shy about smoke. Smoke's a good thing.
So, Bob, you mentioned, we're comparing ideas and comparing things. So another aspect, I'll just continue with the egg here. I do have a ceramic insert that I put in there that that deflects the direct heat, and so it turns it into more of a convection thing. But again, it's an analog deal. I have to put it in. I have to set it in there, and I got to get my coal base going and get that all going, and then put that in, and then regulate the heat from that standpoint. So there's a lot of futzing to it. I'm a futzy guy. That's okay. But and I get to use that whole cooking surface. I get to use that whole grill surface in my Big Green Egg. Now let's segue to a Weber, where you're trying to do that indirect cooking. You got to put the coals in one half of the unit, and then you really only get to cook on the other half of the grill surface.
Yep, offset or indirect cooking.
Because you don't want it to be dripping, and you want to have that indirect heat. And granted, the Weber does that convection thing too with its spherical shape, but you lose half that surface. You only cook half as much.
Yeah. And we have for our convection, we have a fan that actually supports the combustion of the pellets.
Oh wow!
So it actually is
aside from the igniter.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, it's actually the same. So
the same unit, but the igniter's not working at that time.
Yes,
it's the same fan. Sure. That
pushing around fire instead of.
It is. Yeah, you can look underneath the baffle thing and see.
Oh, that's cool.
The fire just spreading. Doing its from the fan.
Yeah.
And actually, there's an accessory that you can get with our grills where you can remove a part of the of what we call the flavorizer. It's the part that makes it indirect cooking. You can remove a chunk of that, actually grill over an open flame.
Because you want that for steak.
Yep.
Exactly.
You want that. You want that direct, hot,
and that,
open flame heat.
Yeah, and that's hot as, hot's almost an understatement. You can get it up to 900 degrees. No problem.
Well, that's okay. I mean, that's really the best way to cook a steak. Is pretty hot.
Sear as hot as you can.
Sear as hot as you can, and then minimize it, and then and pull it off.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty cool. Have you done a pizza on yours before?
Oh, many times.
Yeah, because I'm thinking because you want a pizza oven really hot as well, and so do you stick like a pizza? What am I trying to say? A pizza stone? Do you put something like that in there, or go right on the grill, or
you can go right on the grill.
Yeah.
But you can use a stone, or if you're doing salmon or something like that, you put it on a...
Do your plank or anything like that in there? Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Because it's indirect heat. So.
Right. And like you said, Matt, there are units that make it indirect, and you can pull them up or leave them in.
Yep. The grill's got several different modes to it.
So if you're going to do the salmon, like Bob's saying, all those units are going to be in there. It's all going to be indirect heat, And then you could do halvesies too, I bet.
Yeah, you can actually. You can remove a chunk of it and grill directly over that flame. And then if you want to cook something side by side and have it not be quite as a char, you can take it and move it to a different side of the grill and it'll be more indirect.
Yeah, very cool. Gosh, this is just fascinating. I'm one of those construction, manufacturing geeky guys. So this is good stuff for me.
I don't have any statistics to verify, but
we're engineers, so we might have some.
There are some concerns.
Let me grab my calculator.
Is my protractor handy?
People that use charcoal grills or have had concerns about using the charcoal.
Sure.
And so, what is it? Is it the carbon from that, or what are we concerned about in the charcoal arena as far as grilling our food? Is there any kind of concern?
So people speculate that, and there's different kinds of charcoal.
Because I use the natural hardwood charcoal.
Exactly.
I don't use the briquettes.
Yeah.
I do not use the briquettes.
So the briquettes, people, and there's different kinds of briquettes. Yep. There's what they consider to be a natural briquette, and then there's the quick lay ones.
Right.
And people get a little suspicious. They think, well, why aren't they? What did you add to that to make it quick lay?
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be something in there.
Of course,
makes you a little suspicious of what's going on there. And then just the fact that there's something that says, oh, these are all natural briquettes or chunk lump charcoal. You think, well, what's with the regular briquettes?
Yeah.
What are they? Why aren't they?
What is that? Why
So
aren't they putting natural on there?
In general, despite the good flavor of charcoal, which I absolutely do not contest, charcoal's delicious flavor, people suspect that there are things that they might not want on their food in it. And you know, I joke about having the stats. I don't. I mean, the bags say if you're in California, you'll get cancer from it. You know, if anywhere else, you'll be fine. I don't know whether any of that's true. All I know is that wood fire cooking, people see that as a much more natural thing. And, and that's actually kind of a neat part of wood pellet grilling is despite the fact that it's kind of this, like we were talking, a futuristic-y kind of way of grilling, it's also kind of this neat kind of primal caveman-y way. You know, it's taking it back to when we literally just, you know, took
wood
a chunk
was the
of
only
meat,
really fire source.
Started some wood on fire and threw the meat on top of that. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the wood pellets, they're all natural wood. There's no additives to the pellets, no binders or anything.
Yeah.
It's just all the natural wood.
Yep, that's an important thing to note. I think some people see wood pellet and they think, oh, well, what's the glue that's holding that together? No glue.
It's not rabbit pellets.
No,
like some people.
and that's another
These
thing.
look like rabbit pellets.
No,
Are they using rabbit pellets?
No,
that's
not
really
rabbit
natural.
But that said, how are those pellets made then? I mean,
Yeah.
are they just chunks of wood that are pelletized, or is there some kind of natural binder that is in there?
Exactly.
Or what is a
exactly.
natural
So what
binder?
It is, Yep. We get
Glucose binder or something? Or
well, what it is it's a naturally occurring substance called lignans inside of hardwoods, and they kind of manifest in a line when you heat them up. So what our suppliers do is they get this finely ground wood, and they compress it, heat it up, and then extrude it.
Okay.
And what that does is it kind of
like a Play-Doh thing.
Pushing
it through.
Kind of
meat grinder.
Yeah.
You're basically
Grinder,
taking a bunch of ground up wood and turning it into little tiny logs. Is kind of how.
And then those logs are
Exactly, yep.
cut up
They're
down the
cut
line
up, I would
and
say-
made into consistently sized pellets, because I think the consistent size of the pellet is important too, I'm guessing, in
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
burn process.
Yep. And how
for the
well it
auger to
feeds
work
through.
right and all that kind of
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
And I was really unfamiliar. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know that was a thing until I started working here. It's funny, it's not nearly as rare as you would think. You can actually buy them at a surprising number of places, hardware stores, specialty clothing
yeah.
stores.
I've seen them everywhere.
Oh yeah. It's far more popular than I would have thought.
Well, the wood pellet world is also out there, for heating elements for cabins and all that kind of stuff. I mean, but now let me ask you that. Is it a different kind of wood pellet that you would use for one of those cabin heaters? Or are they kind of do you know? Are they kind of similar? I mean,
they do make special pellets just for cooking
heat,
on the grill.
I mean, I'm guessing that they're similar, but you'd probably want to use different products. And obviously, you're not going to buy an Applewood smoked wood
I was
pellet.
going to say, you want your house smelling like mesquite?
Applewood, but maybe you do. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Yeah.
The other thing is pine. For the pellet stoves, you can buy pine-based wood pellets, but you don't want that for cooking on.
For cooking,
it
don't cook
imparts
with
a
pine.
flavor.
Just
that's
like
not
you
good.
wouldn't normally. You wouldn't chop
pine,
down
yeah,
pine. And
pine does.
cook
It
over
does. No, it doesn't smell. The resin doesn't smell good in the food. No,
right.
it'll
Although,
taste
as we
funky.
just talked about a second ago with Bob Salmon, there's different kinds of flavor coming out of cedar,
cedar.
Whatever,
Yep.
and that's a different
Yep.
thing.
That's
But yeah, burning it and having it extrude, because of just a lower level of heat, are two different things. Yeah, very cool stuff.
But yeah, to answer your question, there are different categories of pellets. It's highly encouraged. It won't hurt anyone to cook their food by using so-called stove pellets because it's
There you
it's
go,
all,
that's the word, yeah.
It's still regulated. It's got to be all hardwood.
Yep.
You can't put varnish in there or anything.
yeah.
It's just it's encouraged that you buy pellet cooking specific fuel, and it's
Because
really
the stove pellets might have binders in them because it's a different thing, or
well,
maybe they don't.
My understanding is that it's regulated to the point where you can't do that. Because
Okay,
even
gotcha.
if you were
That's cool.
heating your house with them, you wouldn't want those
Because
kind
you
of
wouldn't want
gases.
those additives.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay, I see.
But I
I
mean,
see.
cooking pellets, you really get a lot of advantage both in BTU content because they'll have like pure oak in them, and oak's got a lot more BTU than just say a random assortment of hardwoods.
Sure.
And then you can also get flavor woods in there. You got apple, cherry, hickory. There's an incredible array of flavors of cooking pellets. You get Jack Daniels pellets. You get all kinds of weird stuff. They
Gin
literally
and tonic pellets.
It sounds funny, but they literally, I guess they grind up the old casks from aging Jack Daniels.
Oh, that's really
and,
cool.
And yeah, they pelletize
really cool.
that, and then you get that kind of that deep pickly bourbony flavor to it.
So on the same token, Kurt, if you're buying an apple smoke pellet, is that just all apple wood in that? Then is that what's going on there? Or
I think so. There's no flavorings added.
Yeah,
so
it must
apple
be.
flavor comes from the apple wood.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's 100% apple, but
sure, but there's enough in there to give it that smell, right? Same with
Yep.
the cherry smoke. There's going to be enough cherry wood in the overall mix, maybe with oak or something else. But that it gives it the flavor though that you're looking for.
Exactly.
And you're probably right. It's probably balanced to add just the right amount of smoke of that flavor. Because, like when you're cooking with, let's just go back to charcoal, you're tossing in just a few bits and pieces of an apple wood or a cherry wood to give you that smoke. You're not filling the fire pit with that wood because it's too much of that flavor. Too much of that smoke. So I bet you're right. 80-20 or 70-30 or whatever whatever it might be as we speculate here. Sure, that makes complete sense. Bob, if you want to do the oak pellet grilling and then next time you want to have an apple smoke flavor, does that hopper, that bin, that reservoir, can you like dump all that old pellets out and then close it up again and then put a bunch of different flavored pellets in there? I mean, or maybe you
I've
guys
never
can
had
answer that too.
issue.
Yeah.
I just rotate.
Yeah, okay.
And if there's a little mixing or whatever,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, how about you? Can you answer that, or can you do something like that? I'm just curious. I mean, it's not that it's a deal breaker. What, this Memphis Grill won't let me dump out the hopper? I mean, because I imagine you can get in there with a pair of gloves and just kind of pull it out as you need it.
What actually works best, and this is an admission, what actually works best is a red Solo cap. You can get a red Solo cup.
Oh, sure, of course. You scoop it out. Yeah, that makes complete sense.
To answer your question, no, there's no chute to dump out all the pellets.
Yeah.
We generally, we put them in and we commit. But yeah, if you do need to swap them out, you can. My improvisation has been red Solo cup, and it's never let me down.
Oh yeah, well sure, it bends a little bit and all that kind of stuff. I use the red Solo cup for the cat food. Down in the bin that I've got in the basement for the kitty food. It works great. So that makes complete sense, and they're little pellets too, kind of a little pellet type thing. So,
but just so we're clear, don't use the cat food. I'm not saying it won't work because I haven't tried that precise experiment
Matt's
yet.
looking at me like, Turner, use that cat food in your cabin stove all you want. But
fancy.
The whole thing
flavor.
just seems really super cool. We got to get to a segment we like to do on the show, and you guys chime in too if you because you're driving around, you're doing stuff, you see things blooming, you got things blooming in your yard or near your apartment, so you chime in too, because we're going to do our What's Blooming segment. We like to bring this to the show every day, and then we're going to return to Memphis Grills in conversation, because I want to dig in a little bit on 2008 and the design process, coming up with, what is a Memphis Grill going to look like? What features is it going to have?
What options do you have
what
in
options,
terms of its installation?
Yeah, so I want to go back to the genesis of Memphis Grills. You've already explained the genesis of the Memphis Grill part of your business in that, you wanted to create your own product under your umbrella and have that be your own. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I want to dive in a little bit more into the geeky part, because you guys are engineers. You guys, now I want to get to the geeky part.
Now we're getting excited.
Exactly. Now you're getting your notes out. I can see now we're getting the notes.
We got a brochure out.
So Bob, what's blooming, baby?
Well,
what do we got going on?
Did you get those pictures I sent you?
Yes,
last week?
I did.
So
Absolutely
you saw what
beautiful.
was blooming.
Oh my God!
What did you think of that? We talked about that.
So this is an estate in Winona, and Bob's company's been working on this project for a while, and
a little over a year.
And it's just absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I was astounded. It's a series of tableaus, really. It's a series of rooms, outdoors at this estate. And, the half a dozen pictures or 3 or 4 pictures you sent, every one of them was different. Every one of them had a unique character about them, and everything was rocking. Everything was blooming there. Yeah.
A lot of things blooming. I mean, when I got on site and I took some folks with me that had never been there before that were helping work on the project.
Yep.
They just said immediately, took their breath away, and then they said, "This is like being in Europe. I feel like I am in Europe. I feel like I'm in France." And as you saw from the pictures, it's very much like a chateau kind of experience, and yet so welcoming, not ostentatious, but welcoming, and
agreed.
A lot of emotive quality in the architecture as well as the landscape architecture. And so that was an example. A couple of those shots were of the White Garden, and in the White Garden, and there's lots of interpretations in a White Garden with plants that offer. I look for things that offer a lot of textural things in the foliage, and as well as all the flowers and the shape of the plant generally, height and structure and density and that kind of thing, and bloom time. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't sure what we were going to see because it had been 3 weeks. And when we were down there over 3 weeks ago, I thought I had seen the peak. I mean, there's still a lot of spring bloom finishing up and so forth. And they're a little bit warmer than us down there, so things are a little further ahead.
Yeah.
And they grow a little bigger.
Like a quarter of a zone ahead.
Yes.
Even that much.
Being near the river valley and stuff, there's a lot of moisture and that kind of thing. And I couldn't believe it when I saw it 3 weeks later.
So you got surprised because, like you said, you kind of thought you saw the top of the bell curve, and then you go 3 weeks later. It's like, oh boy.
Yes, because that harkens back to the planning well in advance and anticipating what's going to happen 2 months from now, 4 months from now, next year.
Yeah.
When you do the planning and the design work, you're thinking years ahead as well as the immediate, and the balance is being able to do both without overloading just for the instant gratification, and then next year you're dealing with a mess.
What did we do? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it took my breath away, and it was amazingly floriferous. I mean, the things that were blooming that are still there now are the Lambsia, the stackies, with these huge stalks on them. Wow. That fuzzy white. So we talk about the fuzzy texture of the leaves. It's white, it's silver,
plants.
It's a neutralizer. It just complements other plant material. We had delphiniums that were over 3 feet tall.
Jeez. That
we had put in last July in a 4-inch pot, a little tiny thing, and we amended the soil, and they were being staked because they were so big. Wow. Pure white ones.
Yeah.
And then the penstemon family, which we talked about last week, and those penstemons are still going. They have a very long bloom time, anywhere from 2 to 4 feet tall. And in some gardens that I was at today here in the metro, they're pushing 3.5 feet, and have been blooming for over 3 weeks. So that's amazing. Roses are in full regalia now. The early ones have already started going. The Red Rambler, Climbing Rose, another favorite of mine, Hope for Humanity, that was dedicated to developed and dedicated to the Canadian Red Cross. It was developed in Canada, Winnipeg Station. Mm-hmm. It's a Canadian Explorer series, we call it. And it's been blooming for the last 3+ weeks. Hydrangeas are starting to show their color. They start out that limeish green. The big Annabelles and sports of the Annabelle macrophylla hydrangea are coming into bloom now. The panicle hydrangeas are going to be a little bit later. They're going to be coming up through July. These upcoming weeks, we're going to see color showing from them. Ladies' mantle. Oh my gosh, they're on steroids. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're just like, it's like a plant with 5 o'clock shadow.
The Mark McGuires of Ladies' Mantle.
It is amazing. They're that bright, yellowy, lime, iridescent green color. And you can cut those stems, those little flowers off, and put them in arrangements. They'll last forever with your other things that are blooming. But they just add a lot of great texture and color, particularly in big, broad brush strokes, larger gardens like the one I showed you at the estate. So there's a lot of that in bloom. The bearded irises are still going at it, finishing up on the latter end of those. There's one called Immortality, which is a pure white, and that's in that garden that was blooming.
Yeah.
And it is a rebloomer. It's one of those irises that actually will rebloom in the same season.
A couple of times then, huh? Mm-hmm. That's cool. Can I ask you a quick question about irises?
Yep.
Finish up with your iris narrative, because I have an iris question. I want to be reminded about it.
So, the Siberians and the Japonicum irises have finished up their blooms, and they should be deadheaded.
All right.
And the bearded iris are, like I say, they're on the downhill side, but there's still some blooms going on with those. And clematises, the Jack Monte right now, it just purple domes.
Yeah,
I
going crazy
over the trellises.
I've
and
seen
the
quite a few
obelisks and so forth.
Yeah, in yards everywhere. Okay, so now
Yep.
with iris,
Yep.
because remember my story, and we might have listeners here that are going to have a
Yep.
similar thing where you got to move a whole bed. You know,
Yep.
we got to, because I got that whole side of the house. Remember, I need
Yep.
to redo.
Are these bearded iris?
Yep, all bearded irises, and I need to move them because of that insulation
Yep.
that's on the foundation.
Yep.
And I got to dig away and put that new stuff in and fasten it, and make it look nice. Put the dirt back, put the soil back, and then replant later. But in the meantime, I just want to move those irises to a new place anyhow. Remind our listeners again, when am I going to take those bulbs out of the ground?
Well,
I'm
still
deadheading. You know, after I'm
Are
done
yours all
deadheading.
finished blooming?
No, not yet. But
Yep.
so when they're all done, I'm going to deadhead those guys. Let them grow until what wasn't it, August or something like that?
Yeah, I tend to like to move all the spring and early summer plants that bloom in August.
In
so
August,
I
all right.
tend to do it after their bloom season. They have a little bit of a rest period, and then do the transplant, and then they have time to generate the roots. Now, when the weather's hot like this, and plants are growing very fast, all the energy is going into foliage
Yeah.
and flower production.
Yep.
So there's not a whole lot as active with the roots. So when you're transplanting, you're shocking the plant by
course, right.
removing
Right.
a lot of the root system. So what you have to do is compensate for that and trim them back, divide them, plant them
Trim
very
the roots
shallow.
back is what you're saying?
No,
No,
trim back the foliage.
the foliage before-
we
as a-
kind of do the little fan-shaped
Okay.
cut.
And
you know,
and then what? 6-8 inches off the ground, or you know,
Yep,
something like that.
about 8
Yep.
inches.
Okay,
cut
yep.
that little fan
and do,
shape,
Yep, and make it like a
then,
spearhead
yep,
or whatever.
Plant
yep.
them on top of the ground and just very lightly cover, if not leave some of the tubers exposed,
Yep.
facing south or
Yep.
facing the sun. And you know, when irises have been in one place for a long time, they tend to get the hollowed out look in the center.
Yeah, they do.
And the bloom production is reduced and
Dramatically.
shrinks.
I've got
So
some like that.
you want to
yeah.
separate those, discard the little puny stuff, and work with the bigger
the tubers, chunks of tubers. Okay, yeah, all right.
And then
and really just
if
trim
there's
it.
been any
Just trim
infections,
it, you
or
know,
any, yep.
yeah, just take my.
I just kind of pry them.
Okay, got
Just
it.
kind of pry them. You can, if there's been any infection with borers or anything, iris borers or any of that kind of thing, or rot, you can soak some of those in a very mild solution with a little bit of bleach,
Okay.
just for disinfectant.
Okay.
And then pop those in the ground. So,
But again,
August,
sort of a shallow planting, right? Yeah.
shallow, like excellent drainage, hot sun,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. August is my goal then. I'll be deadheading soon. A little more foliage
Yeah.
growth. Come August, I'm going to do my
Yeah.
my trim.
The other reason for then
And away
in
we go.
August is our temperatures tend to start to, at least our day length,
Yeah.
and our
is already on the other side.
is shrinking, and
Yeah.
our night length is increasing, which allows for more rest time for the
Ah,
plants.
gotcha.
And then the energy goes into putting down roots.
In the roots. Do I need to worry about any special fertilizing to help that root stimulation go? Or,
yeah,
you know,
you
help it
get a
along?
root stimulator.
Yep.
You open the cap and smell. It smells like vitamin B.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. And you can put
Paul
it in your
McCartney was
smoothies
here.
in the morning, and But no, it's really good. It does stimulate that root growth.
Okay, perfect.
So clematises, and then
Thank
you're very welcome. And then Hajuga, which is a ground cover, one particular variety, black scallop, is in full bloom right now with the burgundy leaves.
I'm going to give you a heads up. We got 2 more minutes
Oh
for
my
what's in bloom.
gosh!
Yeah.
All right, daylilies and Asiatic lilies. The daylilies on the front end are just starting to bloom. Everybody's familiar with the Stellas.
Mm-hmm.
I like everything but those on a personal level. And
Other than the Stelladoros?
yeah. Penstemons, I already mentioned. Spirea. There's different cultivars of Spirea, and they do have a purpose in our garden and landscape outside of parking lot medians.
Yeah, they sure
And
do.
Taco Bells.
I love spireas.
So there's such a wide range, and there's some really unique ones that are really under the radar and not utilized.
You know
We
what?
can talk
Mrs. T and I were walking the dogs yesterday, though,
Yep.
and she told me, I want the whole front of the house we got that 12-foot setback from the curb in the city I live in. She says, along that line, if we had nothing but those, she calls them grandma spireas, those beautiful, just those lovely white spireas. She said, if I had a whole lineup of that, you could do anything else you want in that front yard. Because our front yard's kind of a blank slate now because we had road construction a couple of years ago. I tore everything, took my favorite tree out. You know what I'm getting at. So I got a whole, but it's nice. It's a whole opportunity to start over.
One of the Japonicum spireas is that really bright, purpley pink that you see a lot of, and that right now we have a couple settings where we've used that with the ladies' mantle in full bloom and the Nepeta. So you get the blue, purple, the bright yellow, lime green, and then this purple magenta.
So this really rainbow mix.
We're talking 3+ weeks of just color.
Nice.
Lysimachia, which is a creeping Jenny kind of plant that's in bloom right now, especially in woodland areas. The early sedums, the little creeping sedums, are bright yellow. Dianthus, that's your carnations. California poppies are blooming. They're an annual.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Flax, campanulas, heucheras, forget-me-nots. Can't forget forget-me-nots, my sodies. And then we've got berries and cherries coming on
Here
right
they
now.
come, and we got the cherry trees,
Got a nice little ping from one of my clients that we did an edible landscape design for with fruit trees and
that's great.
ground covers and berries, and she sent me a picture of her and her granddaughter. Talk about making memories.
Boy.
There must have been 8-quart baskets. Wow. Full of strawberries, from where we landscape, and that she netted her cherry trees. They're full of cherries.
Nice. So that was.
Right
I remember you mentioned that project. That's the one where under the under the tree.
Yep.
And then the cherry tree is the obviously
strawberries at the base, and blueberries are coming on.
Blueberries too. Yeah.
The currants are bright red right now.
Nice.
So.
That's what
was
we got
that
blooming.
Fast enough?
That was outstanding work, Bob
and
Harvey.
Tons of astilbe. I could go on about all the varieties right now, but you won't let me. Yeah. So let's go.
All right. Bob's first girlfriend was named Stella. It didn't turn out well. That's why.
No Stella in my life. No.
Stella! Everybody went Brando in the room right then. That was kind of funny to watch and observe there. And I was a part of it, too. All right, let's dig in here, fellas. So it's 2008. We're going to make a Memphis grill. Kurt, you're an engineer?
That's correct.
Matt, you're an engineer. You came in later, about a year later. You're kind of in.
Oh wait, I was technically still in college, but I was on my way.
You're on your way. So was this your design, Kurt? I mean, were you the guy, or what was the deal?
A team
effort.
People.
Okay, very cool. I like that even better.
It was a team.
But who had the idea? Where was the light bulb? Was that you, like team leader guy, or in the business?
Probably three. You, Keith,
three people are saying we got to think of a new thing to do. Let's make our own product, and then how about a grill? Because we're already doing sheet metal and stuff. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then we started developing the chassis for it, and we designed the chassis for the Pro. The Memphis Pro was our first grill.
Okay.
So we designed that around our fabricating techniques, and of course we built it very strong and robust.
Right,
so it's very durable.
Yeah.
It's all stainless steel construction, so it's impervious to the weather and elements
absolutely.
And all that.
Yeah.
We do want to stress that. You haven't seen a grill that's built as solidly as ours.
No, they are.
If nothing else, they are absolute tanks.
It reminds me of the
They are. No rust, no nothing.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Commodore song. It's a brick house. Yeah, it's mighty. So the auger idea, that seemed to, they're common, for grain, for a lot of things. So, but the auger thing was a part of the methodology behind this Memphis grill. I'm guessing, right?
April. We start seeing the moisture.
And I'm sure there's
April.
more factors at play than just rain. I'm like, I'm that.
No, it started to moisten up in April, and then it's been it's been as ideal as it can possibly get. I mean, in 25 years that I've been here plus, it has.
We're going to troubleshoot this. What we're going to do here.
Fun with technology.
What we're going to do here.
You're the geek, huh?
I think we got everything.
Rerun.
I think we got everything in on.
What's in bloom?
Blooming.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do is just create a new file. Is it reconnected now, or? And then we're just going to pick up right where we left off. All right, let's dig into the Memphis grill and just
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll do another
Sounds
12
great.
minutes of that, and then
Second time's a charm.
And then we'll edit the two things together, and then away we go. We got her all done.
Crazy.
And Sean,
Is it?
we'll go ahead. Okay. Now we're back.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to do the same thing we did. Now that we're on the same file, but we'll still take that file, put it into the editing. We'll shore it up, and then we'll repost it. All right. Good.
There we go.
All right. Cool.
See my magic?
Magic.
You've earned that geek shirt.
He's magical. He's magical. All right, let's dig into the beginnings of the Memphis Grill because I'm really curious. What was the genesis of this? The company 2008 decided to make its own product, so we learned that earlier. Was it you on your own that came up with this, Kurt? You're an engineer. Matt, you came in a little bit later. You're an engineer. Was it teamwork? Give us a little insight into what was behind it.
Yeah, it was a collaborative effort. And the pellet grill. We took a lot of the technology from the pellet stove.
Sure, that we were talking about before.
Feed, automatic ignition, and that. But then we coupled that with the temperature probe feeding into a controller, so we could have that feedback loop for real precise temperature control. So that's sort of the brains and the functionality of the grill.
So there's a little computer in here, is what I'm getting at. Is what you're getting at. So there's a small, little microprocessor. Yeah, exactly. You had to come up with something that was a control mechanism. Sure.
Yeah.
Keypad or whatever the interface is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, it was the sheet metal, and the sheet metal was our forte.
That's what you had.
That's what we've been doing for years, and we were able to design the grill and the chassis for the grill around our capabilities, our manufacturing capabilities. So that was a lot of fun. Things that we had perfected over the years, we were able to build into it, and we feel it's a real attractive product.
Now, these things, I've seen them at the shows, and I've seen them, for sale elsewhere. It reminds me of the old Commodore song. You know which one I'm getting at? It's a brick house. I mean, they are so solid.
Yep.
I mean, you're using like a thick gauge of stainless steel here.
That's right.
You're really gaffing things together super tight. I mean,
you're not going to see rust.
It's a grill for life.
Yeah, it's just super, super tight. Yeah, and
it weathers our climate so well because it's outside all the time.
I bet you find that comment from clients. When you're building the outdoor kitchens and living spaces. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of fuss that they have to do. Prepping for winter because they're going to use it in winter first off, but there's just not a whole lot of fuss transitioning between the seasons.
A little bit of maintenance, but that's preventative.
Yeah. Easy to clean out. I mean, you design this so that you could, pellet waste has its own place to go as it burns, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's actually kind of a routing system in each of the three main models that routes both grease and the pellet
grease
ash.
too. Yeah,
all
right.
There's a little grease collection system, so
right
it ends up being, depending on which model you get, either 2 or 3 trays that you can remove out of the grill that have pellet or grease in them.
Yeah. Pellet ash or grease.
Yeah, but what's kind of impressive, actually, not even necessarily about our grills, but just pellet burning in general, is that the burn is, as long as you supply enough oxygen to it, you have extremely little waste.
I would think.
It's actually a very efficient, kind of ecological way of cooking.
Sure, because that means if there's little waste in the ash bin, that means that none of that's going up into the atmosphere.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
all being used
it's being
in the combustion chamber
into energy and
in the firebox.
So it's actually not. It's not difficult to clean out at all. And in fact, there's only one zone of the grill, just a little tiny cup-sized thing that's important to clean out. The rest of it, well, I should say that you shouldn't, but we all kind of let our grills get pretty dirty. We say that's flavor. We say that's flavor.
That's flavor.
I agree.
Yeah.
Really, it's once a year.
You
need to clean it once a year, it seems.
You do. It reaches a point where you go out there and you look at that thing and just kind of... You're kind of like, it's time.
When I was a younger man, I not only smoked cigarettes, but I smoked a pipe. And so I learned from those seasoned pipe smokers that, you have to develop a cake inside the pipe in order to enhance the flavor of all the new tobacco you're going to put in. So I totally get what you guys are saying with the flavor chamber, And you want
like
some of that in there.
Pan.
Like a cast iron pan. You want to season it, and you just let it stay seasoned. You don't have to, remove and clean. Yeah,
flavor.
Perfect. What kind of models? I mean, the cross section of models. Obviously, the bigger guys. Is there like a tabletop thing that you can get to, or a smaller model, or a built-in guy? So that would
do those. As
I
part
bet
of the
you do.
outdoor kitchen.
Okay, sure. So that would fit into a traditional countertop with a cutout in it.
Yep.
In an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah, but you do that with stone or pine and
surround could be stone or
I love
wood
that.
or metal.
That's really cool. And then all the gizmos and mechanisms are tucked underneath the counter, and you can get at things like your drip pan and all that
underneath
kind of stuff.
and behind. Exactly.
Yeah, perfect. That's really neat. So what's next? I mean, what's next in the world of Memphis Grills? I mean, what do you see?
What are we allowed
what
to
do you
say?
see around the corner? I mean, obviously, not giving away trade
coming.
secrets.
No,
we're going to the space station.
We do have to stay kind of tight-lipped about what's coming. Surprisingly, even in kind of a niche industry, you gotta kind of watch.
I totally understand. Yeah,
but,
I don't want you to reveal any secrets.
I will say that there are big things coming for Memphis Grills. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's going to be worthy of yet another podcast. And so we'll make sure that we kind of wrap that around. And so let me ask Bob, what are you going to grill this weekend?
Salmon
This weekend?
I'm a salmon.
Yeah. Kind of a go-to for you? Mm-hmm. Will you do some veggies on the Memphis Grill? Some asparagus on the side? Because I love the salmon and asparagus too. And they're all going to be cooked right there on the Memphis Grill.
That's
another. Throw a crisp on or bake cookies after if you want.
Right on.
They get a little smoky flavor to them.
Oh, yeah, that can be good.
Have you tried a cake? Chocolate cake is delicious.
Because with the smoky in there?
Brownies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see that.
They're really enhanced for the chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you use a certain kind of smoke, would be an apple or a cherry with that, or just any kind of the pellets? Just the smokiness is what you.
I'm sort of a maple.
the maple.
I use
there you
maple
go.
Pellets.
Yeah.
Exclusively.
How about you, Kurt?
Really?
What are you going to grill this weekend?
Pizza. We're going to do the pizza.
With the
Friday's
maple, with the
pizza
maple
night
pellets.
at our house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so does everybody sort of do their individual pizzas? You kind of do
personal pizzas.
Personal pizzas. Yeah, right on. Everybody gets their own, and then you put them out on the grill.
You just put it right on the grill. You don't put it on a sheet, do you? Or do you?
No, or a
right
stone or anything.
Yeah.
Right on the grill.
Yeah. Because it crisps up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
You can easy to remove at that point and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you do like a little brush of olive oil on the grill, or something to just help it along, or on the bottom of the crust?
Dough.
Yeah. So that'll work right on. Pizza night, Friday night. What did you? Kurt Dawson home address was.
We could do a grill podcast and actually with your foodie
Italian
show.
sausage. Just remember, Kurt, Italian sausage and green pepper.
We could do a live broadcast of a grilling experience.
That would be fun. That would be great.
Fun.
And do pizza. Something that'd be like an hour-long grill type of thing. Pizza is perfect to fit it in the confines. Let's do that. You guys want to tee that up? Can we tee that up?
Yeah.
Can we make that part of our porch cast?
Let's make that a part of the porch cast. Perfect.
We can do it at my house.
Yeah, perfect.
That sounds great.
You guys have to come over and be a part of that then.
All right.
We'll
Look forward to
schedule
it.
because we're going to do that relatively soon.
Exactly where to go.
Yeah.
So pizza for Kurt.
Pizza
now,
podcast.
as you made it clear, you got your Memphis Grill hanging out at the neighbors.
Yes.
What will you or what might they be, kind of doing here? Will they be
coincidentally? I'm doing a big rib night tomorrow night.
Oh, here you
tomorrow
go.
Night, Saturday
Nice,
night.
perfect.
Yeah.
So,
and what's cool is
what's
they don't
that
know.
mean? A couple 3 racks, or what do you 4 or 5 racks? Big rib night is what?
Somewhere between 3 and 4 racks.
Nice.
Of probably baby backs. I thought about cutting up some St. Louis spares, but we'll see.
We'll just see.
Yeah.
We'll just see. And what about sides? What'll be the sides?
I've committed myself to doing cornbread.
Nice.
And
on the Memphis Grill.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Yeah, okay.
Hopefully. That's if I
that would be a good smoky flavor in the cornbread too. I would really dig that.
I thought about doing it beforehand just for convenience of the stove.
Yeah.
But honestly, it makes more sense just to do it on the grill at the same time.
Yeah,
So
just get her done.
Cornbread's great. Cornbread's an evolution. Your first cornbread is always just it's almost not bread. But I've been getting good. I've been
All right.
practicing.
What's the temperature you set that at?
Cornbread you want hot. And you want it in a preheated vessel too.
Okay.
So I usually get it roasted. I think the last time I made cornbread I was at 450. Now that's making cornbread that got deep golden color on the outside of it.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like a work of art when you finally make it correct.
Got that nice that nice crust on top. Yeah, just that golden crust.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So cornbread and
Cooked all
ribs,
the way
just
through.
about the most stereotype barbecue food you can make out.
Isn't that the best? maybe some beans of some sort on the side.
I've asked someone to bring beans and slaw just
Perfect.
so we can fill it out.
I think so. You got to have the full complement. That sounds good. And as with Kurt Dawson, your address is... Well, you bring up the cornbread thing because we certainly have talked about this on the show. It's landscaping and gardening. It's all about, having a plan, but then experimenting. If a plant doesn't work in one spot, you move it to another where it is, and it's the same thing with cooking. If you don't, first time you don't succeed, guess what? You indeed try again and keep working on the technique and finding a, so to speak, a better spot for the plant. And with the analogy carrying through to the cornbread, so all good stuff. What a treat having you guys here again. So we're gonna chart the course on our Porchcast at Bob's house. The Memphis Grill will be kicking in, so you guys have an open invitation to come on back.
Definitely.
And there will be cold ones of all the variety of ones.
Yeah,
we'll have that going.
I like all kinds of ones.
And all the ones. Yep, I like all the ones. Those ones add up. The ones, we like the ones.
My next door neighbor's a grill master too.
All right,
so
perfect.
He'll be involved.
That sounds good. Matt DeMore, thank you so much for joining in, man.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
This is fun.
Kurt Dawson, thank you, my friend. Good to have you here.
It's been a pleasure.
And Bob Harvey, as always, what a treat to do another landscape and garden show with you, my friend.
Yes, and next week we're going to be talking red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue it'll be. And remember, he's looking for staffers. Info at edelweissdesign.com. If you got some time, you want to spend some time with a great company.
Please.
And, of course...
Check us out and check out the beautiful work that we do and the beautiful people that we work with.
Yeah, and indeed, to add a layer not only to the staffing part, but, hey, listen, if you're looking for a great landscape project, you're going to find no better group than Edelweiss Design. Bob, we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.